Hi there, and thanks for joining us. And congratulations for having the courage to take a step towards finding a solution for your anxiety. I'm Damien Murdoch, and I'm the founder of World Class Friend, and I'll be taking you through this 7-part course. The course is called I'm Taking Charge because that's the attitude I want you to take to this. In my experience, there's no magic wand that's going to fix this overnight. Taking charge of anxiety involves skills which need to be mastered over time. I look at mastering those skills as like putting together the pieces of a puzzle, and that's how we're going to tackle this, piece by piece. My mother is a jigsaw puzzle fanatic, so that's where this analogy about a jigsaw puzzle comes from. And when you do a jigsaw puzzle, you start by getting an understanding of what you have in front of you. So you have the picture of the box, so you know where you're headed. Then you organise the pieces and you make a plan. Now you have all the pieces out in front of you in their groups. You start with the key pieces, you set the foundation, and then you crack in, tackling the puzzle section by section in a systemised manner. Each section building on the last, until in the end all the pieces fall into place faster and faster, leaving you with the complete picture, the complete solution. I find that a good analogy for how we're going to go about things. What I'm going to present to you are some of those key pieces, the foundation upon which you can continue to build, and then we'll tackle it section by section from there, each section building on the last. I look upon the whole process as an adventure to go on, learning about yourself and what makes you tick, and putting together the pieces of this puzzle over time. The good news is that I have the pieces of that puzzle for you, and so if you action them, your journey is going to be a lot quicker than mine was. I talk about how anxiety shut down my life for a decade. Well, on one hand, I look upon those years as wasted years, but on the other, it was anxiety that forced me to look at and learn about myself. I now view that decade as a hell of an adventure where I got curious and learned things that I otherwise wouldn't have. We can definitely fast track that process significantly for you with the information I'll be presenting here. And what you have waiting for you at the end of that adventure is a very exciting life. Because when you think about it, when you have mind and emotional state control, and that's what we'll be teaching you, you're set for life. This is the information and skills that allow elite sportsmen, for example, to be the best in the world. Speaking of elite sportsmen, the Australians among you will know that Jonathan Brown became an AFL legend for the way that he handled the big moments in big games, in front of massive crowds. There was no one you would prefer in charge at those times. So it's fascinating to see what he had to say about handling those moments. He said it's about having an awareness of the situation and a checklist of what to do. So that's what I'm going to give you on this course. An awareness or understanding of what's happening in your mind and in your body in those situations to give you the symptoms that you feel. How the world around us affects what's going on in your mind and body, and the chain of events that have, over time, led to your current situation. Once you have that awareness, you'll have the clarity to accept what's happening and be ready and willing to do something about it. And so I'll give you a checklist of what to do. So skills and tools to handle the situations in the moment that you feel the symptoms, whatever they are for you. I'll give you what I call peace in my pocket. It's a tool that you can carry with you in your pocket, wallet or purse to provide a checklist when you need it. I'll give you more information on that tool towards the end of the course. I'll also give you a checklist of the strategies we're going to adopt to avoid those situations from happening. What you need to do going forward so that you not only learn to handle these situations, but stop them from happening in the first place. And that's ultimately what we're after. Instead of going through life skillfully avoiding situations as we learn to do, you're going to be able to look forward to coming events with excitement rather than dread. Just have a think about how that would feel, actually looking forward to events. You may have forgotten what that's like. It's a different life to what you may have become used to, and it can be yours. This is a step-by-step process, a system, putting together the pieces of the puzzle, and I'll outline that system. So this is important. I'm going to be presenting a lot of information here, and it's life-changing information. Some of it's not easy to understand first go, so be prepared for that and stick with it. But this could be the most important hour or so of your life as we go through the course, so give it everything. Turn off your phone, close Facebook, shut the door, do whatever you need to do so that you're not distracted. Give this your full attention. Before we start, I want to explain a few of the things that I'll be talking about. You'll hear me talk about chemicals, as in the chemicals that run around in your body. It's important to realise that anxiety, or any emotion for that matter, is just a bunch of chemicals. And the chemicals that put you in an anxious state are different to the chemicals that put you into a confident, powerful or happy state. There's thousands of these hormones and chemical messengers, but a few examples that may get a mention are things like adrenaline, cortisol, testosterone, serotonin, dopamine, to name just a few that you may have heard of. Now, the release of these chemicals is often done subconsciously as part of a programmed response to a certain situation that you find yourself in, and we'll get to that. But it can also be controlled consciously with our mind. If you were teaching someone how to be anxious, you'd tell them to take their mind out into the future and imagine bad stuff happening. That's the structure of anxiety. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux puts it like this: where fear is a response to a present threat, anxiety is a more complex and highly manipulable response to something one anticipates might be a threat in the future. To worry about something that hasn't happened and may never happen. Okay, so it's important to realize the fear isn't real. Your life isn't in danger. It's imagined. Mark Twain's famous quote is, "I've had thousands of problems in my life, most of which never actually happened." So the structure of anxiety is taking your mind out into the future and imagining bad stuff happening. If you were taking your mind out into the future and imagining good things happening, you'd be happy. So therein lies a key. If I was to ask you to do an exercise with me, where I asked you to close your eyes and remember a time when you felt anxious or panicked or terrified, even if it's recalling a horror movie you watched, and really immerse yourself in that scene, stepping into your body, looking through your own eyes, seeing what you saw, hearing the sounds, noticing what you were saying to yourself, really feeling the emotions in your body. You might find you actually start to feel the symptoms come on. When you do that exercise, start to notice where you feel that in your body. And then if I asked you to take a slow, deep breath and then close your eyes, and this time think of your favourite song. Perhaps remember or imagine a time when you were with your favourite people, perhaps dancing and belting it out at the top of your voice. When you totally immerse yourself in that scene, looking through your own eyes, hearing the sounds, noticing what you were saying to yourself, and really feeling the emotions in your body, you may find that you end up with a warm smile on your face. That's the power of your focus, because you can govern which bunch of these chemicals is released. So we'll see the need to get your focus back onto the result that you want and hold that picture. Stay focused on that. Another key realization I need you to make is that most of us take our thoughts far too seriously. Andrew D. Huberman, PhD, is a Stanford neurobiology professor who runs a lab studying fear. He puts it like this: the more we learn about the brain, the more we learn it's not something that's supposed to make you happy all the time. It's mostly a stress-reactive machine. Its primary job is to keep us alive, which is why it's so easy to flip people into fear all the time. Its primary job is to keep us alive, so the brain will naturally lean towards showing us a threat. What we deem a threat has been programmed into our subconscious mind by our beliefs about ourselves and the world. And these beliefs have been programmed into our subconscious mind by our upbringing or environment, and also from the way that we've interpreted the events of our life as it's unfolded, the meaning we've put on those things that have happened in our life. Andrew Huberman again: the long-term solution really comes from realizing that the brain is not a perfect device. Every thought you have is not necessarily correct. Your emotion system will take those thoughts and run them like a boat down a stream. So your first thought is usually your brain showing you the possible threats. So imagine you're walking out your laundry door on a warm summer's night, and out of the corner of your eye you notice something curled up on the ground, glistening in the moonlight. You're startled and automatically jump back into the house in fright, thinking it's a snake. But when you look again, you see that it's a garden hose that someone has left curled up there during the day. What's happened is your brain has shown you the possible threat. It's then how seriously you take that thought and where you run with it, which ultimately governs what results you get in life. We'll see more of that as we go. Some of us continue to treat things as a snake when really they're just a hose. We take that first thought too seriously and then we run with it. And finally for today, I've mentioned your subconscious mind there a couple of times already. So what do I mean by the subconscious mind? I'll give a quick explanation of the structure of the human mind. And that diagram there gives you a good idea of what we're looking at, where we've got the conscious mind and then the subconscious mind. The conscious mind, where we do our thinking and make deliberate choices, is only the tip of the iceberg, around 5 to 10%. Below the surface is where the real operating room is, with around 90 to 95% of what we do controlled by the subconscious mind. As an example of how the mind works, think of driving a car. When you first learn to drive, you have to concentrate consciously on everything you're doing, accelerating, braking, gears, checking mirrors. But after a while, you can jump in the car and drive for an hour with barely a thought, eating breakfast, updating Facebook, and belting out a song all at the same time. You're on autopilot with actually driving the car, and often you'll get to where you're going and not even remember a thing about the trip. The subconscious mind has taken that activity over. The neural pathways have been built and strengthened, and that activity has been consigned to habit, so we don't have to consciously learn how to drive a car every time we jump in. At the same time we're driving a car, the subconscious mind is also beating our heart, digesting food, killing germs, all those things we don't have to think about. Emotions are stored there, memories are organised and stored, and it's also responsible for our unconscious behaviours. Just as we're programmed in driving a car, we're also programmed in how we respond to or deal with things in our life. We walk around being triggered and reacting to things in a programmed way, without thinking. We get cut off in traffic and we react. Our partner says or does something, we bite their heads off. We get put on the spot to speak in public and our heart starts beating out of our chest, we choke up and we want to run for the nearest exit. 90 to 95% of what we do unconsciously, without thinking. We're programmed. So to make real change, we need to make it to the programming at the subconscious level. This quote is from Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious mind conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate. We need to become aware of these programs and then change them so that our unconscious behaviours get us the results that we want. And anxiety is not a result that we want. So we're going to learn more about these programs and how they play out, leading to the symptoms that you're experiencing. And then most importantly, we'll learn what to do about it when we commence the course tomorrow. So be sure to check your inbox tomorrow. If you don't receive it, remember to check any other files you have within your email. Perhaps add us to your safe senders list now. I'll see you tomorrow.